So I have a client who was told that her job was in jeopardy, not because of poor performance or any kind of misconduct, but because she was active in her business outside of her 9 to 5 and becoming really successful in it. And in the last couple of weeks, I've come across quite a few videos where people have said that they have been fired for having a side hustle. These are people who had an idea, started building, were posting publicly on social media and lost their job as a result. So when people have that fear of posting, it's completely real. It's not irrational. There are people who are living the real consequences of being visible in their business whilst they're in their 9 to 5. And this is the reason why I'm doing this video. Not to tell you to just be brave and post anyway, but to give you the exact framework to build your visibility, to establish your authority, and to create alternative streams of income outside of your 9 to 5 without giving your employer any reason to come after you. So I speak about risk because I spent 20 years within the criminal justice system assessing and managing risk at the highest levels. So when I speak about risk, I've worked it, but I've also lived it in my own transition out of corporate. So when I tell you it's manageable, I mean it, and I'm going to show you how to do it safely. So if you're watching this video, chances are you have the expertise, you have the experience, but something is stopping you from being more visible. And what I've learned from working with professionals and the research behind my own work is that many professionals are silent online, not because they don't know what to say, but they have learned over time that speaking up and being visible has consequences. They also know that that visibility comes with scrutiny, that if you want to show up with authenticity, it can be penalized, and that if you overshare, it could cost you everything that you're trying to build. And so being in corporate really teaches you that there is a safety that comes from staying silent, from watching other people build and you staying in the shadows and invisible. But being silent comes with a cost. It means that there's going to be limited growth. It means that you're going to have reduced influence and you're going to be stuck. Your next chapter is going to be stalled, and the people who actually need to hear from you won't have access to it. And so the question becomes not whether or not you need to be visible, but how you do so safely, strategically, and sustainably. And that starts with understanding exactly what the risks are. So there are 6 real risks that comes with being visible. These have cost people their careers and lost them their jobs. But I'm going to go through what these risks are, and I'm also going to tell you how to stay safe from them. So risk number 1 is confidentiality and conduct breaches. And this is the one that feels like it should be the most common in terms of knowing how to avoid it, but it's actually the one that costs people their job the most. And this includes holding or disclosing client information, financial data, internal decisions, operational processes, anything that might be covered in your contract or in a non-disclosure agreement, because that makes it a direct breach. And if you work within a highly regulated system, so for example, the criminal justice system, healthcare, finance, or education, this may not just be a disciplinary matter, it could even be a criminal one. And so the first rule when it comes to confidentiality and conduct breaches is to ensure that when you are visible, you are doing so from the space of your expertise rather than the place of your employment. Risk number 2 is conflict of interest and secondary employment. Many organizations expect you to declare whether you have a secondary income, side hustle, secondary job, but more so if there's any chance that it can be in conflict with what you're currently doing as a job. So for example, I had a previous client who was a counsellor and worked as a counsellor within an organisation. So when we were looking at how she could leverage her skills and build her personal client base, we had to ensure that the pool of potential clients did not clash with that of her current employer, because what you never want to do is to be seen as being in direct competition with your employer. And so the rule here is to make sure that you read your contract properly about what it says about secondary employment. It's not enough to say that I didn't know and I wasn't aware. It's usually in the contract. And sometimes it means that you need to seek permission, or it means that there's a requirement to disclose. But ignoring that could be grounds for dismissal. Risk number 3 is the loyalty and disengagement signal. And this is the one that many people don't anticipate, or they don't realize it's there because it can be quite subtle. And sometimes you don't actually have the evidence that it's happening. But this is the one that my clients' employers were trying to use. And this is where your professional voice online starts to sound entrepreneurial. Your posts are talking about starting a business or building a business, about income streams, about possibly leaving your 9 to 5. And your employer will see this and they will interpret this as if you've checked out. And this is by no means a breach of your contract, but they will use it when it comes to your attitude and performance. So it means that if you ever have a report that might be late, or if there's something that wasn't done to the required standard, it might be used against you. And the questions might be along the lines of, do you really have enough time to do our work? Or are you putting in enough time or enough quality if you are distracted by your side hustle or your secondary job? So your work will be scrutinized. It might mean that if there are promotions, you will be overlooked. And you may have those uncomfortable conversations with your manager about whether or not you still have a vested interest in your job, or even where your loyalty lies. The rule when it comes to loyalty and disengagement sits in how you post, how you show up online, and how you're visible. And what you want to do is bridge your entrepreneurial content with your expertise within your 9 to 5. So what you want to do here is to speak about the nuances of your role, speak about what you know about leadership, your growth and your expertise. Do not speak about exiting whilst you're still in your 9 to 5. Risk number 4 looks like reputational conflict and your employer's brand. And when I spoke about the guy I came across a few weeks ago who was fired because of his side hustle, this is the one that his employers got him on. So this could look like putting your organization in a negative light without even meaning to. So it could be posting something when it comes to an opinion that you hold that your organization may not fully agree with. It might be that you hold a public position and your content might be in contradiction to it, or it could be seen as mocking it somehow. And I say this not to say that you actually are mocking it, but it can be perceived as such. In that young man's video, he was being asked why he was still working when he was earning so much money, and it seemed as if the income that he was generating was beginning to rival his salary. That's going to embarrass an organization. And if there's anything that makes an organization think that their reputation is being put on the line or their values are going to be called into question, they're not going to be happy about that. Most organizations will have a social media policy. Go look it up if you aren't aware of it. Go find it to make sure that you are aware of it if you do have one. And it's going to explicitly outline how you're expected to conduct yourself and uphold the organization's reputation whilst you're online. In the organization that I used to work in, there were certain times during the year or certain events that were happening, for example, election periods, where we would specifically be told not to post certain opinions, our personal opinions on our personal pages that could indicate a political alignment or a criticism of parties, because even though it was our personal pages, we were still expected to represent the organization and be neutral. So even posts that may not have anything to do with your employer can be used against you if it's seen that it could put the employer or the organization in a bad light. So the rule for this is to be fully aware of your employer's or organization's social media policy. Ignorance is not a defense. You are covered by it and you are expected to abide by it, whether you are aware of it or not from the minute you join that organization. The 5th risk is the politics of visibility, and that kind of combines some of the others that we spoke about, but I want to go into it a little bit further because this is another one that's very difficult to pinpoint, but you know it's happening and you're not quite sure what to name it. When you start becoming visible online, when you start gaining followers and traction and showing up as an authority, your colleagues and your managers are not going to be comfortable with that. And again, it's not because you've done anything wrong, but it's because you are creating options that they do not have. And the reason why this isn't spoken about a lot is because it falls under the banner of jealousy, and that's something that isn't always easy to pinpoint. But it can look like increased scrutiny of your work. It can look like HR complaints that are coming up out of nowhere. It can look like you being targeted for policy breaches that have never been enforced before, that everybody has ignored. But when it comes to you, because you're visible, because you are becoming a voice and an authority outside of the organization, all of a sudden you're being targeted for it. It's very similar to risk number 3, the loyalty and the disengagement signal, because this is where you can start getting excluded from certain conversations. You're going to be overlooked for promotions, and you could start getting sidelined when it comes to things happening within the organization. And the reason why this happens, the reason why visibility makes you a target, is because corporate spaces rewards conformity. It does not reward those who branch out and do something on their own. It's the unspoken expectation that you're all going to stay together in the basket and moan about what's happening, and nobody's really going to branch out unless it's to go up that corporate ladder. That's the expected route. And I experienced it in various different ways. One of the most profound ways where it showed up for me was when I was actually leaving the organization. The people that I sat with, that we spoke about wanting to leave, doing things differently, how the organization might be able to change, those people were not there when I was ready to leave. The 40 to 50 people who showed up when I was going for a promotion were not there when I was leaving. There were literally about 6 people who attended the pub when I left on my last day in the organization after 19 years. People that I would speak to on a daily basis. We no longer have anything in common, because I decided that I was going to do things differently, no longer sit there and moan about what was happening in the organization, and actually do the thing that we spoke about doing for ourselves. And why this happens is because corporate rewards conformity. Your visibility will make you a target, because conforming is the unspoken expectation. And so knowing that your visibility can be construed in ways that it's not meant to means that you need to be really intentional about how you're showing up. Every single post that you make needs to be defensible. If your manager calls you in about a post and you are umming and ahhing and flinching and trying to make excuses, then you shouldn't have posted it. Every post should be something that you can calmly explain without having to make excuses, and that you can stand behind and defend whilst upholding not just the reputation of your organization, but your reputation. And finally, risk number 6. This is premature and unstrategic visibility. This is when you have the idea, you're so excited about getting into business, and you start posting without a strategy. You're not quite sure what your angle is. You haven't thought through how your post could be interpreted. And you start posting in such a way that your side hustle becomes so visible, but you don't even have a narrative ready as yet. Again, you always need to be in a position where you can defend your position calmly and be prepared for that conversation. So the rule to combat this is, before people find your content, you need to already have your narrative ready. If your manager were to ask you tomorrow about what it is you're posting on social media, you need to already know exactly what you will say. So now you know the 6 real risks that come with being visible, but here I'm going to give you the framework so that you can navigate all of them. There is a 5-step approach which I teach within my free guide, How to Post Online Without Risking Your Job, and I'm going to walk you through each of them. So step number 1, clarify your professional angle. Your content needs to be a consistent thread that connects your professional goals to your professional credibility. If you want to speak about entrepreneurship and income streams, you have to link them back to your transferable skills that made them great within your job. Speak about your leadership, your expertise, your observations. Do not speak about your frustrations on the job. Don't speak about wanting to exit. And there's no need at this stage to speak about clients when you're still an employee. There's always an overlap with your business and your 9 to 5, because you're leveraging your skills in order to start your business. You need to find that lane, and that's where you need to stay. Step number 2 is you need to lead with contribution and not performance. Those professionals who build a firm authority online are those who show up and contribute value rather than just showing up for the sake of being seen. Their content actually adds and contributes something, insights, frameworks, perspectives, things that their audience can actually find useful. So think about, what is it that your audience is going to want from you? What is it that you can impart in terms of your skills, your knowledge? What value can you bring? When you lead with value, your credibility will build naturally, and your employer will have nothing to talk about because what you're contributing is actually valuable and it's linked to your expertise. At this point, especially in the early stages, you need to think about contribution and not commerce. Step number 3 is about being visible with intention. You want to show up on your platform with intention, not engaging superficially on other people's platform or being quiet on your platform, but showing up on other people's platform and trying to tout your business on there. Remember that there is platform etiquette on every single platform you go onto. Focus on being a consistent presence on your page as you build your authority, and focus on quality rather than your follower count. Step number 4, you want to protect your trust and your reputation in every single post. You might be desperate to get out of that job. You might be desperate for a change, but you still have a responsibility to your current job, and most importantly, you have a responsibility to your reputation, because that reputation is going to follow you whether you leave or stay. So when you share your stories and your experiences, leave out the external politics. Do not name people. Leave out the frustration, especially if it's unresolved. And step number 5, maintain clear professional boundaries at all times. Do not be posting on the people's time. Do not use company time or company resources to manage your business. If you have posts that you want to go out during working hours, use scheduling tools. Do that in your own time, and then those posts can go out whenever they need to. If there are any grey areas about what is allowed, what's expected of you when it comes to your social media policy, whether or not you need to disclose anything, whether or not you need to seek permission, get clarification. Remember, not knowing is never a defense. And before you post anything, ask yourself this question: if my manager were to question this tomorrow, would I be able to defend it calmly? And this is not about asking permission from your manager, but it's about being responsible when it comes to your responsibilities to your organization, and most importantly, again, your reputation as a professional. So if the answer to that is yes, then post it. If the answer is no, or you're hesitant, then you know you need to rewrite it. In the free guide that you can download below, there is a full checklist. There are 11 questions in there that guides you through how to stay safe whilst showing up and being visible online whilst in your 9 to 5. Download it, print it, whatever you have to do, but get acquainted with it. So after you start posting and getting visible, people are going to notice. Some will be supportive, some will be skeptical, and some will start questioning your motives. And when they start noticing, when your follower count starts going up, when your voice starts carrying weight, your professional environment is going to shift. You're going to feel it. And this is where you need to be ready, because it might be a senior colleague who speaks to you, it might be your manager, but there will be questions asked. And this is where you need to be ready. Stay calm. Stay professional, because you know you follow the guidelines and you haven't done anything wrong. And remember, your tone will communicate more than your words will. Be specific. I share insights about professional development and career transitions on my own platform, in my own time, and in line with the contracts. That is a complete answer. There is never a need to over-explain, because when you start justifying, then you start looking defensive. One clear explanation, one clear sentence is better than 5 nervous sentences. And invite the conversation. Ask them, is there something specific that you noticed that caught your attention? That shows calm authority, no defensiveness, and that you're not retreating. Remember, you're not doing anything wrong, so you don't have to act like it. You have a framework that you're working within. The professionals who usually find themselves in trouble are the ones who post without a strategy and then they panic when they're questioned about it. You're approaching this differently because you're building with strategy, and that preparation is your protection. So your next step is to download the free guide, Post Online Without Risking Your Job. It includes the full professional visibility framework, complete policy checklist, and I've also included 30 niche topics that you can get started with and 100 content titles so that you can start building your authority safely from today. It's absolutely free. It's in the description, so download it now. If this video was helpful to you, then I post content like this every week. It's for professionals who are done allowing systems to decide what their life is expected to look like. I'm Rachel Charles, and I spent over 20 years within the criminal justice system, understanding exactly how institutions hold power. And now I split my time between the UK and the Caribbean because I built options before I needed them. And that's exactly what I'm going to help you do. So until the next video, bye.